Welcome to Market Minute. This is where we like to talk about what's going on in the market in detail and give some really good investment ideas of how to protect your money or take advantage of what's going on. So, the presidential election cycle is upon us for sure. The debates are occurring in August. The market will start to focus on those debates, and we went through the cycles and we pulled out a few things we thought really stood out and that were interesting. The number one thing that stood out to us was the third year of the presidential cycle. The markets are up big, 16% on average, and that's about where the market is currently. That's pretty extraordinary versus the other 3 years, actually. So, this is statistically an important occurrence that happens during the cycles. However, the other 3 years tend to be somewhat not as exciting, mid-single digit type of returns. And the year after the election, I'll show you this, they tend to be not very positive at all. Looking at that, there's roughly a 60% probability on average when you look at the 24 different cycles of presidential elections that we're going to enter recession the year after the election, so 2025. However, how this shapes up currently, I'm not so sure. The fundamentals and what the Fed's doing kind of leads us to the recession occurring prior to the election. The median return after the election is negative 6% roughly. So median is very different from average. So we showed you the average return here, or here rather, 6.7% after the election, but median can be significantly different. So there were some big drawdowns, obviously, because recessions occurring after the elections. Now, looking at additionally what happens during elections, elections tend to be more volatile. Election years tend to be more volatile. That's what stood out as well. So we have higher returns the year prior. The election year, we have more volatility, and it tends to be centered around when we have volatility around black swan events. The 6 black swan events that occurred over the 24 elections, the Depression, obviously, in 32, World War II in 1940 and 44, the tech bubble in 2000, the Great Recession in 2008, both of those horribly bad, right? COVID 2020, actually, they were all bad. They were all really, really bad years. So the election years sometimes can be really negative with a lot of volatility. Now, we've heard this saying quite often, it's the economy, stupid. To get reelected, it's the economy, stupid. Looking at prior elections, 7 out of 10 presidents were reelected when they had a strong job number, and there was one president reelected when there was a recession, and that's marginal because that recession started in November. So it's really important if you're in office, you want reelected, you got to have a good economy. And it's not really shaping up that way. Generally, what we believe, 1 year after that final rate increase, you have a high probability of a recession occurring. So the last rate increase may occur in July or it may occur in September, but we're getting real close. And then we'll see that full effect roughly 6 to 12 months after that final rate increase. Now, looking at the candidates, obviously Biden is the Democrat front runner because he is an incumbent. But we think there might be some other people popping up here. Kennedy looks actually kind of strong. I'm surprised. We might see another candidate emerge as well. Trump, the front runner. I think there's some great candidates in the field, some really good candidates. You never can tell what may happen there as well. If Trump gets a nomination, he's got a great field to choose from for his vice president, which may help the ticket quite a bit. Now, looking at where we are currently with the current fundamentals, as I mentioned, we have rate increases occurring. We're not quite done yet. Likely leads to a recession at some point. We have high valuations for the stock market, 20 times earnings roughly for the stock market. That gets you high volatility. High valuations generally get you high volatility. and then we're entering the election year where you generally get more volatility anyway. So we're kind of concerned about going into the election with the stock market already up 16% this year, which kind of discounts that positive effect from the election cycle. And then you have the potential for a black swan event. Not saying there will be, but tech stocks are up quite a bit. They're 40% of the S&P 500. Recession 1 year after the final rate increase, that's probable to happen. And then you got potential for something occurring in Russia or China invading Taiwan. We wouldn't rule that out either. So looking at how this is stacking up, yeah, it's probably better to be more defensive than offensive going into the election year and actually going into the back half of this year. Thank you very much. Please hit like. If you want to subscribe to Market a Minute, get a hard copy of Market a Minute. We'll send it to you directly to your email, and look forward to talking to you soon.